My name is,
Sorry.
that's all right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chad Berry. I am the Associate Director for International Health, Safety, and Risk Management here at UA. And thanks for joining us for this pre-departure orientation. And again, as Eve mentioned, this is for students going abroad in the spring semester. So if you're going abroad in the summer, then this is not for you. You'll need to come to orientation that happens next semester. But anyway, we are glad that you are here. We have a lot of important information to share with you this afternoon. We hope this is helpful in preparing you to go abroad, have a successful experience. Okay, next slide. All right, first, just want to introduce introduce our staff to you. And you may know some of these people or know their names already, but we want to make sure that you know these people's names because you may be getting email from somebody on this list um, about various topics, maybe related to course registration, or if it's health and safety, it'd be me, or scholarships or something else. But anyway, our office is led by Dr. Carolina Robinson as our Director of Education Abroad. Then there's myself, Chad Berry, and again, I work with health, safety, risk stuff. Eve Machado, who is also here on the call. You'll hear from her today. She's our assistant director. Samantha Young also is one of our assistant directors, specifically for faculty-led programs. And then we have three of our three advisors, or four advisors, three of which advise by college. So Blythe Johnston, who advises all the Culver House business students. Tristan Grammer advises all of the arts and sciences students. Kyler Durrance, who advises all the other colleges. So if you're not business and not arts and sciences, then Kyler Durrance is your education abroad advisor. And then Leah Chin, who advises on our faculty-led programs. And then we have Trey McMillan and Kaylee Williams as work in our office in a variety of ways, helps out a lot. So that is us. And again, we want you to know our names in case you get an email from somebody, that didn't come from, out of the blue, random. It was probably an important reason that you're getting that email from this person. So please open it and read it. We are located in BB Comer Hall. You may have been by our office before, but that's where we're located. And we're the big yellow building with all the international flags, kind of close to the student center. Okay. All right, so this is our agenda today. We're going to start off talking about health and safety, and I'll be leading that portion. We put health and safety first because it is really important, and we're excited you're going to have these international experiences, getting to see new places, meet new people, have these experiences. But we want you to have them in a safe manner and come back safe and sound here. To that end, we put that first. After that, we'll be talking about academics and registration. We'll talk about planning and logistics. We'll talk about culture shock and identity, and then we'll talk about how to get involved in education abroad after you return. All right, so yeah, starting the health and safety section. Again, this is super important. We hope that you'll pay attention in case something I say in the next few minutes comes in crucially important in some moment of crisis, which hopefully you won't have, but in case it does, you'll be better prepared for it. We start off with this slide, which admittedly sounds a little scary. This is a U.S. Department of State worldwide caution that has been issued. It is not a new thing necessarily. It's been issued and then reissued periodically over the last 10 or 15 years. But that worldwide caution states that there is a continuing threat of terrorist actions, political upheaval, and violence against U.S. citizens and interests abroad. We just want you to be aware of that. Now, the likelihood of something happening in your particular location probably is quite low. But certainly if something were to happen, then the risk could be high. So we want you to be aware. In terms of steps to take with this information, the biggest one probably is being prepared and being vigilant, keeping your eyes and your ears open when you are in a highly populated area out in public while abroad. Could be a tourist area or just another highly populated area. But make sure you're paying attention to what's going on around you, not being too, distracted or engrossed in your phone. but keeping your eyes and your ears open in case you need to notice something that would be important. Also, monitoring the media, follow instructions of local authorities, anything they might be telling you. Staying in touch with people back home as well as people there on the ground with you, or maybe part of your program or part of the institution, or involved in your study abroad experience. Registering in STEP stands for Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. And so this is a U.S. Department of State program, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. And then have an emergency action plan ready. I'm going to talk more about that as well, but planning ahead is always really important. Okay, moving on to our emergency communication protocol there. So if something were to happen where we have travelers, and again, that something could be, it could be a terrorist attack, or it could be a natural disaster or a weather event, or it could be any number of other things. But if something happens where we have travelers, then we're going to take 3 steps to reach out and communicate with you. Number one, we're going to email your UA Crimson email account, which brings up the point, of course, to continue to check that UA email account while you are abroad, because you might be receiving some important messages to that email, not just from our office, but from other offices on campus, about a variety of topics, really. But anyway, in this kind of situation, we would send an email and it would give details. Hey, we have heard about this happening in your area. Here's some advice to take, steps to take to stay safe. And then we're going to ask for a response. And you can just respond. If you're okay, just respond and say, I'm okay. If you need help, certainly, then let us know that, and we can try to get you the help that you might need. But if you get that kind of email, just respond as soon as you can. Let us know that you're okay. A second way that we would try to communicate is through the Discord group. And so if you were here, a few minutes early, then you saw us with the Discord QR code, and we'll show that again in a little bit, but in the link. But you can sign up for that, and then through that we can post messages, again, kind of giving details maybe about something that's happened, and then ask people to respond to that message in there or like that message, and we can kind of track responses, make sure everybody's accounted for that way. And then a third way would be through the International SOS Assistance app. So International SOS, I'm going to talk a lot about them over the next few minutes, but they are our international travel assistance partner. They have an app. It's called the International SOS Assistance app. And we can push out messages through that app. And again, it would give details of what's happened, ask you to respond, and you could kind of click on a button. One button being, I'm okay. One button, no, I need help. Or maybe a third button of some other response. But those are the 3 ways in an emergency situation that we might communicate with you. So we want you to be aware of those in case you do start getting messages from me or somebody in our office regarding these situations. I also do want to mention there's on some of these slides it says handbook and gives page numbers. So we have a study abroad handbook, and you will have access to that digitally. You'll have access to that through your study abroad application in the next few days. So any information we're sharing here can correlate with that PDF that you're going to get of the handbook. Okay. All right. A couple of situations that we do want to make you aware of. Both of these have been going on for a little while, but just want to kind of briefly address them. So the Russia-Ukraine situation is still, of course, happening, and we don't have any direct impact right now on any of our students or any of our programs. We don't have any study abroad activity happening in these locations, but we do want to make sure you're aware of it. And then if that situation ever were to escalate beyond Russia and Ukraine and impact other parts of Europe or the world, then, of course, we would be monitoring that, and we'd respond accordingly. One kind of step to take, or not to take, as it were, would be to not travel, of course, to Russia or Ukraine. And really, it would be recommended, if possible, to avoid travel to countries that border Russia and Ukraine, just because if the situation ever were to expand beyond those borders, then the countries nearest by would be the ones most likely to be impacted. So that would be our recommendation. The next situation there, the Israel-Gaza situation. And again, no direct impact on any of our students or programs right now. Certainly be alert, though, and probably the most likely impact that you might see would be coming across or hearing about a protest or a counter protest in some location where you are in the world, where these have been happening in lots of places, including here in the US. And really, it would be our recommendation, not just about this issue, but any other issue that might be being protested while you are abroad. It'd be a recommendation to you that you would avoid those for several reasons. One reason being you never know how those might play out or might be handled, and so it's best not to just kind of get caught up in that. Secondly, your presence in any kind of protest, again, this issue or other issues as well, your presence as an American traveler can complicate that situation for the local people. So it's probably just best for you to avoid those. Um, this go back to that one. I just want to mention one other thing about the yeah, so it mentions travel routes. So you might hear about if you sign up for International SOS, you'll start getting alerts about things happening in your city or cities that you're traveling in. And so uh, that can be really good information to have. It's not just like danger situations. It could be like, hey, there's gonna be a parade or there's gonna be a protest or something, and you can adjust your travel route that day if you happen to be passing through that area. So you can adjust that. So there's another reason to have that International SOS app. Okay. While we're here, I'd just mention something. We do have the chat here in Zoom, so if you have questions or things you need to bring up, then you can certainly post them in the Zoom chat there, and one of us can try to answer it if that's needed. All right, back to our slides. Emergency contact numbers. So we want you to have all these numbers in case you were to need them. I've mentioned International SOS a little bit already. I'll talk about them more in the next few slides too, but um, if you have the app, then you can call International SOS in the app, and that really would be the recommendation because if you call them in the app, it's going to connect you to the location nearest to you, and International SOS has locations all over the world, so that would be the recommendation. You could use that US-based, that 215-942 number, and they are available 24/7, and they can get you the help you need as well. But the recommendation would be to use the app. All right, here at UA, there's several numbers that are listed there. Our Education Abroad office that's open during business hours. The UAPD, this would be after business hours. I've included my cell phone number as well as Dr. Robinson's cell phone number as well if you were to need to reach us in time of emergency. And we are available on WhatsApp also. Last but not least there, the local emergency numbers. So kind of one piece of your, I guess, homework, if you will, or pre-trip preparation before you go, it would be to look up, find out, and memorize and write down the local emergency numbers for your location or locations that you're going to. Here in the US, that number, of course, 911, you can always reach emergency services if you dial that. So you need to figure out what is that number for where you're going. And then again, commit it to memory, write it down, have it in your phone so that if you need that, you can use that number as well. Okay. All right. So I mentioned International SOS before. They also facilitate our insurance coverage as well. So all of you going abroad for a UA purpose, studying abroad, will be covered by UA's international insurance policy. It's good policy. It's really specifically designed for international travel. There's a few highlights listed there. So $250,000 per incident or sickness. So if you were to have multiple problems while abroad, you get sick one week, the next week you sprain your ankle, then it starts at zero and goes up to $250,000 for each one of those issues. Also, there's a $0 deductible. So what that means is ultimately your out-of-pocket costs for using this insurance, should you have a medical issue while abroad, ultimately your out-of-pocket costs for any covered expenses covered by the insurance would be zero. So the way that would work is this, and then this is how you would use the insurance. So if you need to go to the doctor, you're feeling sick, you got an ache or pain or something you need to be seen about. If you are capable and able and have the time to call International SOS, then it would be recommended to call them, let them know what's going on. Hey, I'm sick. I need to see a doctor. And then they'll ask you a few questions, and then they will give you a recommendation or refer you to a doctor or a medical provider in that location where you are. and they can arrange direct payment on your behalf for that medical bill, such that you would not see the bill. Um, and then you know, go ahead and be seen, be treated. That is the ideal situation. If you're able to do that, you have the time to do that before you need to go see the doctor. That's the recommended way. We do understand though sometimes you know, it's an emergency. You just need to get somewhere and get seen as soon as possible. You don't have time to call International SOS, or you're having trouble connecting with them for some reason. Um, so if that happens and you go and you're seen, you're treated, and you get a bill, and they won't let you leave until you pay the bill, so you pay the bill out of pocket. If that happens where you pay a medical bill out of pocket, then save all your receipts and all your documentation for that visit, and then we can work with you to help get reimbursed by insurance after the fact. So that is kind of the two ways the insurance could work. But ultimately, that it should be a $0 deductible. If it's a covered expense, there's a few other highlights there. Emergency or security evacuation be covered. That's a big expense if it was not covered. There are some exclusions, so I do want to kind of highlight this insurance is not like it's not for checkups. So if you want to get your eyes checked or a dental checkup while you're abroad, this insurance would not apply in that situation. This insurance is for when you have problems, basically. You get sick, you get injured, then you could use this insurance. It's not for checkups or preventive care. Also, the dental coverage is not really, I would say, robust. It has to be, if to use the dental coverage, it had to be like an injury to one of your original teeth, basically. Anyway, there's a few other exclusions that are listed there, some different activities that would not be covered, bungee jumping, skydiving, etc. If you were to get injured doing those, then insurance might not cover that. Okay. Yeah, just a little bit more about this. So some people sometimes ask, like, why do I need this insurance? I'm already covered by insurance here in the US. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, again, this insurance really is specifically designed for international travel. So it includes a lot of things in the insurance that your US-based insurance would not have. And even for visa purposes, the international insurance you have to provide for proof of insurance. Sometimes your US policies wouldn't meet those requirements, but this insurance does. But it includes lots of different things. Yeah, I mentioned medical and emergency evacuations. Also includes something medical or union there on the screen. That is, if you were to be hospitalized for some extended period amount of time, then this insurance could fly a family member to be over there and be with you while you are recovering in the hospital, and which could be a great help to you in that kind of situation. This, of course, brings up the point that you need to have somebody in your family or loved one that has a passport and could get to you quickly. It also includes good mental health coverage as well. So that's one reason, and this insurance, again, really designed for international travel. Secondly, it allows us as UA to know everybody is covered and know how, what your policy is. Because we have over, close to 2,500 travelers every year. That's a lot of, individual insurance policies that we'd have to manage and juggle. So, and this way we know everybody has the same standard of care, and it's good insurance. If you want all the details about all the things that are covered in the policy, then the policy is linked in your study abroad application. So you could look it up there and read to your heart's content. Okay. All right. International SOS Assistance app. So again, we've talked about the app a little bit. You should download the International SOS Assistance app between now and when you go abroad. I would recommend, downloading it using your email address, a UA email address to register. If you need the membership number, it is there. It's also linked in your application. And then go ahead and start using it. Even now, before you go abroad, you can use the app to look up information about your destination, local hospital numbers, local embassy numbers. You can call International SOS before the trip as well to get their insight about whether it's about different prescriptions or different risks or different things you might face while you're there. So anyway, you can go ahead and start using it. But that's the International SOS app. And if you need assistance while you're abroad, you open the app and you press the phone icon, and it will get you to them. Okay.
Chad, we've got a question in the chat. It says I can only carry 30 days of my meds into my host country, so I'll need to see a doctor to renew those prescription. Will that be covered by my international SOS insurance?
So I would try to figure out a way that you might could see if you can get a longer duration of those medications to cover you. Get those here in the U.S. and then have documentation from your doctor here in the U.S. Um, if you have to get it fulfilled while abroad, then you would need to use your personal U.S. Insurance, since that is kind of not a medical problem you're having necessarily in that country. It's an issue, you started the medication before you went abroad, I guess is the way to put it.
Thank
And
you.
that actually does lead into this next slide a little bit. Yeah, we understand you may be taking medication, maybe daily, weekly, monthly. The recommendation would be, if possible, to get adequate supply to cover you for the duration of your time abroad, so you don't have to get those prescriptions filled while abroad, because that can be a little more complicated. It's not impossible. It is possible, but it just, there's a few extra hoops and steps. Um, so yeah, our recommendation, if possible, would be to use your personal insurance here in the US to get those medications before you go abroad. Keep those in the original containers, get a letter or some kind of proof from your doctor that you are prescribed those medications, and you can prove to any authority over there that this is a medical prescription. Um, our immunizations, the last point there. So it might be that you're going to a location that would have a recommended or required immunization. Um, if that describes, and this would be things like maybe rabies or yellow fever or some other examples. Um, and if you need any of those, then the travel clinic here at the Student Health Center can help arrange those. We, of course, are very late in the semester now, but it might be that you could get those started next week before you leave. And you might have to get other doses, elsewhere before you go. But certainly, if you need any of those, then you need to get moving on those very quickly. If you're curious about where to find, I don't know if I if there are any immunizations I might need. The CDC website would be the place to go. And if you go to the next slide, Eve, yeah, so there's a link, the CDC site. Every country in the world has a page on that at that link. So you would find the country you're going to, and then look up and see any required recommended immunizations for going there, and then take any action that you might need to from that. In addition to the CDC website, I want to refer you to the U.S. State Department website as well, travel.state.gov. Every country in the world also has a page on that website as well. And I would recommend, as part of your research and preparation, to take a look at what's being said about your country there. It gives lots of information, maybe about the security situation, about visas, about the U.S. embassy and consulates in that location as well. So um, good information to know and to have. And then that leads us to this STEP program, which I briefly alluded to earlier, as in terms of like a crisis, in terms of crisis and emergencies. So we would recommend that you sign up for the STEP program, Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. This would alert the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate to you while you're abroad of your presence there, and then they can send out messages to you of any kind of alerts or updates you might need. One example of when this came in really handy was a few years back when COVID first hit. That spring, we had a lot of students who were abroad. Borders closed quickly, flights were canceled. It was hard to get back to the U.S., but a lot of U.S. embassies and consulates around the world arranged chartered flights for U.S. citizens to get back to the U.S. during that time. And if you're enrolled in STEP, then you're getting these messages on a regular basis. Hey, there's going to be a flight out tomorrow at this time. Here, bring your documentation, etc. So that's just one example of when STEP came in really important. So we would recommend that you sign up for STEP. Okay, so code of conduct. We want to remind you that the UA student code of conduct does follow you as a UA student going abroad for a UA purpose. In the same way as conduct violations that happen here on campus or in Tuscaloosa can be followed up on by the Student Conduct Office, If we hear about potential conduct violations while you're abroad, then the student conduct office can follow up on those as well. We know you'll be in your best behavior, but I just want to make you aware of that. Personal emergency action plan. So here I do want to refer again to that handbook that you will have access to in the coming days. There is a template for a personal emergency action plan in that handbook. I think it's on page 51 of that handbook. There's a variety of blanks on that page that'll have like, what's the 911 equivalent? Where's the nearest hospital? What's the name, address, number? The U.S. Embassy consulate. It's a pretty full page of blanks to fill in, and I would recommend that you spend a few minutes before you go abroad on that page and fill in the blanks so that you have um, the basis of a emergency action plan and could use it in time of emergency. Something were to happen, you would not want to have to waste valuable seconds and minutes trying to look up that information in a very stressful moment. So if you already had the information, that's going to save you some valuable time. So have that and take a picture of it, carry your handbook with you, and then you can refer to it quickly. All right. There is a video that if you were in person, we would show this video, but since we're on the Zoom call, I'm not going to show the video, but I'm going to talk through these safety tips, which really are covered a lot in the video. Um, so these are some basic safety tips. Some of these maybe are common sense, but good things to remember. Um, and some of them we've already addressed a little bit. So number one says be alert, keeping your eyes and your ears open. So we mentioned this earlier on. Talked about when you're in crowded areas or when you're in tourist areas. Whenever you're out in public, making sure you're not too disconnected from your environment, in your phone or something like that, but paying attention to what's happening and what you're hearing around you. Secondly, don't stand out, try to blend in. So in the video, she talks about the golden rule of travel is to do as the locals do. And that really is good advice. We understand, it's not always going to be possible. You may not always know what the locals are doing. And it's not always easy to not stand out, but to the degree that you can, try to blend in so that you're not making yourself an obvious, kind of mark for somebody that might want to do something. Number three there, don't get out large sums of cash in public unless you absolutely have to. Um, and again, we understand like you might be going to a place, some countries in the world, they use cash more than we do now here in the US. So you might be carrying more cash than you are used to, but still try to avoid getting out large sums of it in public unless you absolutely have to. Fourth, be careful about giving out your personal information to strangers. Five, keep your food and drink in sight while socializing. Really, a lot of the things on this list are tips that you should be practicing here in the US as much as anywhere. So any of those things you're doing to stay safe here in Tuscaloosa or elsewhere in the US, then keep doing those things while abroad too. Along with that is not going out alone. We would say at least groups of three. Um, you know, in terms of like risk percentages, the risk of something happening to somebody when they're in a group is much lower than when they are alone. So when you're alone, you're at a much greater risk of something happening. So we would recommend certainly do not go out alone. Wearing your seatbelt if you're ever traveling in a vehicle, keeping your phone charged, knowing the local emergency numbers, talked about that earlier. Also know the local emergency contact for your program. So you have somebody, could be a faculty member, could be a administrator or somebody at the institution you're going to that you've probably already been in contact with or will be in contact with once you're on the ground there in the country. And certainly have their name, number, readily available to call if you need help. And then international SOS we've talked about as well. Again, using the app would be the recommendation if you can, if you need assistance. Okay. All right, we're getting close to the end of our health and safety portion, but we would want you to hear from one of our students who has been abroad and get some tips from them regarding what they did to stay safe. And so, students, maybe share your name and your major and any tips you have regarding staying safe while abroad.
Hi guys, I'm Zara. I'm a Spanish major here at UA. I studied abroad in Colombia for 6 weeks on a faculty-led program doing Spanish. And the biggest thing I think is the buddy system. I don't think it's any different than doing something. Just don't do anything that you wouldn't do in the US. I feel like it's a big part of it. If you're in a big city here, you wouldn't go out alone. You wouldn't carry a ton of cash on you. And then just be mindful of your possessions at all times.
Okay. And hi guys, I'm Leanna. I'm a junior, and I am majoring in international studies and political science. And I studied abroad for the last year. I went first semester in Barcelona, Spain, and second semester in Madrid, Spain. And I would say I completely agree with what Zara had just said. And then another thing I would add on to it is to keep in mind that I know in Europe for sure a lot of the medications aren't the same. The way that their pharmacies are set up aren't the same, and so that's something I would look into, do some research into that before you go abroad. And then I would also, I know I for myself, I kept on hand some just over the counter like cold and flu medications because once you land, that jet lag will get you feeling like everything's wrong. Um, and so, yeah, again, just make sure you're aware of your surroundings at all times. Make sure you're not doing anything that you wouldn't do in the US. Make sure you're following all the like guidelines and restrictions and everything like that.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah. One kind of thing kind of that they said that remind me of something they mentioned is just doing your research. I've already talked a little bit about, some things you need to do before you go abroad, whether that is your personal emergency action plan, the local equivalent to 911, those registering step, all those things. So certainly doing your research in regards to where you're going, what the situation is there, what it's like, any potential specific risks that you might face. Take the responsibility for your safety in your own hands as well. And so. Anyway, thank y'all for sharing. All right. So we are now at the point of our first Discord quiz. So Discord is an app. Hopefully you're signed in there and are ready to go. Um, Discord's a tool you can use even after our orientation today. There are different channels for different countries. Maybe you can connect with people going to your same location. So anyway, the Discord quiz is in there, and I will turn it over to one of my colleagues who is coordinating that Discord quiz.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do our first Discord quiz. And so for those of you that are having difficulty because you're currently abroad with joining the server, I will share the quiz with you. And so we'll go through this together. All right, so for our first learning check, um, oh no, let's see. Give me just a moment.
Anybody has any questions while he's working on that, certainly feel free to post them in the chat. We can try to get those answered.
So our first question is, what is not included with your international insurance, your international SOS insurance? Is it emergency or security evacuation, quarantine coverage, routine checkups, or mental health coverage? What is not included? And the answer is routine checkups. So remember, your international SOS insurance will cover mental health coverage, quarantine coverage, and emergency situations, but just not routine. Um, okay. Let's give it a second. And then the next question is, what does STEP stand for? So this was on one of the slides earlier. It stands for, what does it stand for? Is it Smart Traveler Enrollment Program or Smart Travel Emergency Preparedness? And the answer is Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. So remember, step.state.gov is where you can sign up for those alerts. So step.state.gov. Okay. All right, and then question 3, what should you avoid while traveling? Should you avoid traveling in groups, using public transportation, keeping large amounts of cash on you, or keeping trusted family and friends notified of your plans? What should you avoid doing? And the answer to that is keeping large amounts of cash on you. And so remembering to follow the same safety tips that you would while you're home to stay safe and using common sense. Okay, so that concludes our first Discord learning check. And so now let's see. All right, so we're at academics and registration. So now we're going to go through some different information pertaining to your study abroad application, your steps in the process pertaining to your academic plans and your degree plan here at the University of Alabama while you are still maintaining your student status while going abroad. So now is the time that if you're able to, if you're at a place with your computer, please log into your UA Study Abroad application. You want to make sure that your application that you finished up all of your outstanding requirements. Your progress wheel should be pretty close to complete at this point. If you haven't purchased your flight yet, just remember as soon as you do purchase your flight to add that information as it is one of your questionnaires. If your application still says nominated and not committed, so if you're going through an exchange and it still says nominated by UA and you are committing to your program, you've been accepted by your exchange institution and you know for sure you're going abroad, just make sure to go ahead and update your status. For students that still show a status of UA endorsed, if you are planning to go abroad and you are committed to it, it's the time to go ahead and you can see there's going to be a button that says commit or decline. So if you are studying abroad, now is the time to commit if you haven't already taken a moment to complete that step in your study abroad application. Remember, you can sign into your study abroad application from the front page of our website, studyabroad.ua.edu. There are many items within your UA Study Abroad application that you've previously signed off on, and there's a little eye icon that's to the right of your page. So if you're ever curious about something that you've already signed off on, you can always go review what you have previously signed off saying that you understand by hovering over the eye icon in your UA Study Abroad application. And so some important spring 26 registration and important dates. Your CIP placeholder course. So by now everyone should have received their placeholder course information from our office. If you have not received your CIP placeholder course, please check your spam. You have likely been emailed a few times from our office, likely from studyabroad@ua.edu, as well as from your advisor and possibly even from me about your CIP placeholder course. So make sure that you register for your course. If you need your academic pin cleared, if that is preventing you from registering for your course, then make sure you reach out to your academic advisor to have that pin cleared. Confirmation is due next week, December 10th, and you can't confirm your schedule until you're registered. So if you are not registered yet, you want to register ASAP, and then you'll also need to confirm your schedule. So if you are planning to use tuition-based scholarships or financial aid, if you've requested the use of either of those, your schedule must be confirmed. Your schedule must be confirmed for all students, but it is particularly important for students who are planning to use financial aid or scholarships. If you do not confirm your deadline, your schedule by the deadline date of 12/10, then your schedule will be dropped, and then you have to go through a more challenging process of being able to register, and it's going to take more effort, a little bit more attention. So please, please, please check your inbox for those emails about your course registration and go ahead and register. Follow the steps as well to confirm your schedule. For my students who haven't confirmed your schedule, you're going to log into My Bama. You're going to go up to the search bar on the top right of your screen, and you're going to type in the words confirm my schedule. And that's going to take you to a screen where either you're going to pay for your spring schedule, which is that study abroad course fee, and it covers your international insurance. So you're going to see that those costs on your account. So you're not paying your tuition except for my exchange students. But you're either going to pay your spring bill or you're going to select a payment plan. Choosing a payment plan will also confirm your schedule. So make sure that you register and confirm your schedule. In addition, if you have not completed your um, study abroad course registration form that's in MyBama, you really need to do that soon as well. So any course that you're considering to take while abroad needs to be listed in your study abroad credit approval form. That's another form in MyBama. And you can access that from your student tab under education abroad or by going into that top right hand search and typing in study abroad credit approval form. And so those are some important steps that you want to make sure that you've completed before you go abroad. While you are abroad next semester, you will need to get your game plan together for how you're going to have your pin cleared for summer and fall course registration. So thinking about that now, you're also going to need to be mindful of how you're going to use Duo while you're abroad because in MyBama, Duo is required. So there is a request form on OIT's website that allows you to request passcodes. So if you're going to have a different cell phone or if you have any issues with Duo, know that there is a way to bypass Duo. It is through OIT's website, but you want to go ahead, make a note to yourself, be planning for having your academic pin cleared in March so that you're able to register on time or early for your summer or fall classes. All right. Some important dates to keep in mind. So registration began back in October. The scholarship request form for study abroad. So if you're planning to use tuition-based scholarships, that was due November 17th. So if you have tuition-based scholarships, that form was due earlier this semester. Your student bills, this is at December 10th deadline day that you must confirm your schedule by December 10th to avoid being dropped. Your UA scholarship dispersal is planned for January 4th. That date is tentative. So if you're wondering when you're going to see financial aid and scholarship funds dispersed to your student account, January 4th is that date. And then the last day of drop add is December 5th, I'm sorry, January 14th for my spring students. Yeah. Okay, so types of academic credit for any student who is completing a faculty-led program, the type of academic credit you will receive is going to be UA courses, UA grades, so there's no transfer process required. And so your courses will be graded just as if you were taking them here on campus. For students who are completing an affiliate, a non-affiliate, a direct enroll, or an exchange program. So the type of academic credit that you are going to receive for the courses that you take while you're abroad depends on the type of transcript that you receive from your program. And so if you're doing an exchange or a direct enroll and you're requesting your transcript from an international institution, then your credits are going to be recorded once received as pass-fail. So if you're receiving an international transcript from the school that you're studying abroad at, from the program, then that is going to be pass-fail. For my students who are studying abroad with an affiliate or a non-affiliate, you may have the option to choose a domestic transcript or an international transcript. If you choose the international transcript, your grades will be recorded as pass-fail. If you choose the domestic transcript, then those are going to be letter grades. Some students with some affiliates and non-affiliates do not have a choice. If you're taking classes at a study center, at semester at sea, or if you're taking classes with a program and with your affiliate provider or non-affiliate provider, and the classes are from, let's say, Arizona State University, that's a domestic institution, a stateside institution. So students who are doing stateside domestic institution, your grades will be recorded as letter grades, and then international transcript as pass-fail. If you have the opportunity to request both a domestic and an international transcript, then know that your domestic transcript will trump your international. So be mindful of that. If your program offers both options and you choose both options, then you will receive the letter grades and not the pass-fail. Some students may prefer the letter grades, and I know some students may prefer the pass-fail. So just remember, international transcript means letter grade, domestic transcript means, I'm sorry, international transcript means pass-fail, domestic transcript means letter grade. And then also this mentions again your study abroad credit approval form. So that's the course equivalency process. So if you have questions about the course equivalency process, now's the time to get in touch with your education abroad advisor to ask them about those questions. But again, any class that you're planning to take while abroad should be listed in your study abroad credit approval form to make the process easier when you send your transcripts back. Okay. All right, so now we're going to hear from Layla and Zara. If you two would share with us about what tech devices you should bring while abroad, what ways you can use your phone. Did you take your phone with you? Did you purchase a phone while you were there? And is there anything that students who are preparing to go abroad need to use their devices abroad?
Okay, sorry. Leanna went to get water, so she will be right back. Oh, she's back.
Here.
Um, for me, I brought the same things that I would use here at UA. Um, all of my assignments were online, things like that. So I brought my laptop. I know a lot of people brought their iPad if they like to do notes on their iPad. Um, phone, biggest tip is bring a portable charger or two. And then did you have any issues with like the adapters and everything? Because I didn't have to worry about that.
No, so, if you're going somewhere, I would look into, thankfully she brought it up. I would look into getting an adapter. There are some that are universal ones. I think I paid about $15 for one that works in any country that I would go to. So when I was going between like Spain, so like EU type of plugs, to the UK, it was like a really easy switch. All I had to do was press a button. So I would definitely recommend bringing an adapter. I would leave behind things like hair dryers, straighteners, things like that. Those are really cheap to get abroad. I was able to get a hair straightener for $20 or for 20 euros and a blow dryer for 15. So you're not going to be splurging too much on them, and they're always nice to have if you do feel like that's something that you need. And again, I would just make sure to take your laptop, your phone, anything that you would use here, make sure that you have that just in case you do have to do something that would be typical to your daily life back in the States rather than wherever you are abroad. And then I would recommend, for those of you who have iPhones, I would recommend using Google Maps instead of Apple Maps because Google or Apple Maps has a lot more inaccuracies. They're not really equipped for all the different places. And Google Maps is more regularly updated.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to play another quiz. And this is in the PDO 12.4 channel. And so if you wanted to play along, you're welcome to join us there to play the quiz. Right. All right, so first question, when does course registration for the spring begin? State has passed. So registration is now currently open. So we have a couple of different choices, October 26th, 25th, 30th, or 27th. This was on one of the slides. So the answer was October 27th. So it's been open for a while now here in Alabama. Okay. All right, question 2. What status does your application need to be in first before you can request to use scholarships, submit credit approval forms, or register for courses? Does it need to be UA committed, endorsed, or pending? And the answer is you need to at least be UA endorsed, which all of you should be UA endorsed, if not committed. So remember I mentioned check your application. If you're not committed, make sure that you do commit to your application if you are definitely going abroad in the spring. Okay. If you receive an international transcript, what kind of credit will you receive for your UA courses? International, will you receive letter grade, pass fail, or no grade? Hey, Matthew. Okay. And so pass fail. Remember, domestic transcript means letter grade, international transcript, pass fail. And if you request both, your domestic transcript will trump your international transcript. Okay. Thanks, y'all. All right. So now we're going to go through some information to help you with planning, preparing to go abroad, and logistics. So So yeah, so first let's talk about passports, visas, travel permits, residence permits. And so you do need a passport and a visa if the visa is needed if you're going to be in the country for 90 days or more. If you need for your visa process, if at this point you still have not secured your visa, you're working on it, it would be a good thing to check in with your study abroad advisor to let them know where you are in the process with your visa. You may need a letter of enrollment from our office, or proof of health and health insurance. And so we're happy to provide those materials to you by request. So make sure that you reach out to your education abroad advisor if you need your UA enrollment letter or your health insurance letter. And then check your country's embassy website to find out if you need a visa, if you're unsure if you need it or not. Typically, if you're in a country for 91 days or more, 90-day rule, you will need a visa. So this is time sensitive and it is serious crunch time. And so if you don't have a plan for your visa at this point, if you're still looking into this, please reach out to your education abroad advisors. We're here to help you and support you. We are in no means visa experts, but we're here to help you support you through the process of applying. Okay. Hey, Zara and Leanna, can you tell me some ways you packed for your trip? What kind of clothes do you think would be helpful? What did you take that you should have left behind? What did you wish that you brought?
If you want first, yeah. Sorry. I definitely, okay. First of all, definitely look at the weather of wherever you're going. Don't just look at the weather whenever you're looking at it. Look for the amount of time you're going to be there. So if that's, during a season change or something like that, maybe it's during a rainy season, something that's super important. I went to Colombia, which is so hot and humid. So I was big on layers and linen clothes. Anything that's kind of like loose and flowy, was really great for that. And it's also important to keep in mind if you're going somewhere with like a lot of mosquitoes or something, maybe opt for pants instead of shorts most of the time. Um, I think I brought one or two formal outfits just in case. And then lots of comfortable shoes. Not lots, like two pairs of shoes. Comfortable shoes. Because you're gonna be doing a lot of walking. And then I brought one like going out shoe that was a little cuter. Um, how much should I pack? For the 6 weeks I was there, I did one carry-on and one checked bag. You're gonna have laundry. You might not have a dryer, but you will be able to wash your clothes. So definitely underpack. You can buy whatever you need wherever you're going as well.
Yeah, and I would just like to add, definitely leave behind your like athleisure clothes and things like that. Especially if you're going somewhere like Europe, because I know that in Spain and Italy especially, you're usually everybody's dressing up, nobody's wearing their sweatpants around, nobody's wearing their leggings, things like that, things that'll make you stick out more. Um, I would recommend, like Zara said, for both of my trips, I only took one carry-on bag and one checked bag, and that was for the whole semesters. Because like she said, again, you can do your laundry there. And I know that I had the problem. I still overpacked and I overshopped a lot while I was there. So just know, especially with Spain, especially with Italy, there's a lot of the clothes are a lot cheaper there, so you're gonna feel like the urge to buy things more. And also, again, like she said, when you look at the weather forecasts, I know in Madrid when I was there, it was uncharacteristically rainy. And so when I was there, everybody was saying like, "Oh, we weren't expect like it's never like this, it's never like this." But it was cold and it was rainy all the way up until April. So that's something to keep in mind. Just kind of stay up to date with things like that. Make sure you're taking shoes that you can wear when it's rainy, and don't expect that just because you're going to like the Mediterranean that it's always going to be nice and warm.
Okay, thank you both. All right, guys, we're going to do one more quiz. Oh, sorry, I launched it too soon. All right. So we'll go ahead and go through it for those of you that are with me. All right, so what are some of the items that are good to carry in your carry-on luggage? So your cell phone charger, prescription meds, travel documents, are all of the above. And so the best thing in your carry-on is to take anything that you don't want to lose. Remember, anything that you get checked may arrive a day, a few days later, or it may get lost. So you want to keep the most important things with you at all times. And so cell phone chargers, prescription meds, travel documents, copy of travel documents. Who should you contact for required documents for a visa? Should it be a student assistant, our front desk, student account services, or your EA advisor? And yes, your education abroad advisor. So if you need that visa letter, your UA enrollment letter, or your health insurance letter for your study abroad, remember you can request that from your education abroad advisor. All right, and then when are UA scholarships and our financial aid going to be dispersed to your student account? So we mentioned this date a few slides earlier, and so your options are January 1st, January 4th, January 5th, or January 12th. And the correct answer is January 4th. January 4th is the day that you can anticipate to see scholarships, tuition, financial aid added to your student account. Okay. Thanks, y'all, for playing along. All right. So finances. So scholarships are dispersed a few days started to the semester before the start of the semester here at UA. So even if your program abroad doesn't start until February, you'll see those funds added to your UA student account around January 4th. Make sure that you notify your bank and credit cards. Many credit cards no longer require that you fill out a form to tell them that you're abroad, but still look into it to make sure. It can be frustrating if you go abroad, you go to tap and or you go to use that card and there it's declined because you missed a step with notifying your bank. So definitely check. You also want to check to see what your foreign transaction fees are, or ATM fees, for withdrawing funds while abroad. Your foreign transaction fee can be a percentage of the sale, or it can be a flat fee for every time you swipe or every time you pull out funds from an ATM. I would also encourage everyone to write down your card information in case it's stolen, misplaced, lost. You want to be able to contact your bank. So knowing how to get in touch with your bank without physically having your card in hand. Having some amount of cash with you can be helpful, especially if you're going to a place where there is cash is normal and most transactions are cash. If you're unsure, now's the time to look into that. If you're going to a country where bartering is very normal, then that is a sign that you need to have some of the local currency with you. Check your budget sheet for other expenses. If you haven't created a budget for your plan yet, now is the time to start thinking about what your overall costs are going to be. Be mindful that Venmo is not universal. And so PayPal, Mint, Splitwise, what apps are you going to use for finances while abroad? What apps are you currently using? Are you going to be able to use those while you're abroad? You'll need to look into it to see if it works in the country that you're going to be living in for the next few months. Also, table service charges. So here in the US, it's normal to go out and have a meal with 4 or 5 friends, and everybody is able to request their own check. While you're abroad, that may not be the case. You may be in a location where the restaurant will only provide one check per table. So then you have to figure out how you're going to send money to your friend or how your friends are going to send money to you to pay you back for the cost for the entire meal. And so know that splitting checks can look a little bit different while you're abroad. And it's not similar to how it is in the US. That's going to be a little bit of a difference for you. Make sure that you're looking in, if you are a 2 Starbucks trips a week type of person now, you're likely going to be 2 coffee trips while you're abroad, maybe more if you're going somewhere where coffee is really good. And so start planning for those finances and those costs now. Okay. All right, Leanna and Zara, how do you recommend budgeting for your program? What payment sources did you use? Did you use Tap Pay while you were abroad? And also, can you share how you stayed in touch with family and friends while you were abroad?
So I used my Discover student card and my debit card from a credit union here. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to remember something. And Chad, correct me if I'm wrong because I feel like you told me this. I feel like if you are abroad, it's better to use a credit card because if you use your debit card, you're not going to be able to get money back if something were to happen. I think that's right. Does that sound right? Okay, gotcha. Okay, so just word of advice. And I honestly did not budget and I kind of wish that I had. I did a lot of impulse purchasing, but I'm also kind of like you might never have this experience again, so like maybe be a little looser than you would at home. And then as far as staying in touch with my family, I would call them every couple days, once a week, something like that. I use WhatsApp all the time. That's super common, I think, everywhere except the US. And then I made a Google photo album and I would just put in my pictures there. They could comment on them, things like that.
Yeah. And so for my program, like she said, I'm also a bit of an impulse shopper, but I knew that going into the trip, thankfully. So I tried to budget myself. I would really limit yourself in how often you do end up going out shopping. And at the beginning of the semester, the best advice I would have is for people who are looking to travel more while they're abroad. I would look at booking your trips as soon as possible. That way, you have kind of like a base to start with the rest of your budget to know how much money like you have available to spend on things like meals, when you feel like going shopping, on experiences in your own, like in your home base. And then for my payment sources, I used my debit card and I used cash. Um, my debit card just didn't have a foreign transaction fee, so that's the only reason I used that there. But I would also really recommend using a credit card instead of doing that and just using your debit card or using like paying that off as you spend the money on your credit card. That way you're not getting like ahead of yourself, but you're also like still spending the money that you had prepared for this. And when before I even left the country, I know I went to Wells Fargo. That's a bank that's an option. If you have an account with them, you can order foreign currency so that you're going into the country with some of their foreign currency. Just to be prepared. I would do that at least a month to 3 weeks in advance. And that kind of gave me a nice place to start with cash for my stay. And then to stay in touch with people locally and at home, I just use my own cell phone. I use T-Mobile, so they have a thing where it's like, um, you just have to inform them that you're going abroad. They allow you, I believe it's 3 months, where you can use your same data plan, no extra charges, unless you're doing phone calls. The phone calls were an extra charge, but that varies. Um, and to talk to my family, I usually just used WhatsApp or Snapchat, anything like that. Because I could still use my phone, I also used regular text messaging. That was also to text my friends that were in Spain, from Spain. Like those also worked. I would really, my best advice would be to look into what your phone plan provider offers first before you go, just to make sure that you don't have to get a new like SIM card or things like that.
Okay, thank you both. So, Zara, you kind of mentioned like credit card versus debit card. The benefits of a credit card, is that the credit card is typically a little bit easier to dispute charges if you need to dispute charges. So, thank you both. All right, so we just did this a moment ago, so we've already done this learning check. So we'll move on. So our next and final session of today's section of today's pre-departure orientation is culture shock. And so our advisor, Mr. Durrance, is going to join us to go over these next few slides. Thank you, Kyler.
Hey everybody. Just to kind of round us out, we're going to talk about culture shock here. So culture shock is kind of this feeling of being disoriented when in a new environment or around a new group of people. Some of you may experience that going abroad for the first time or going to a different country that you've never been before. On this slide right here, we're talking about behavioral and cultural expectations. A lot of that can be fashion related. Some of that can be in social settings. Some of that is just like laws. If you look at the picture on the right, it's a glass of wine. The drinking age in countries, especially in Europe, are a lot lower than the ones in the US. It's typically 18 there as opposed to 21 here in the US. Additionally, smoking, I know there's a sign kind of in the middle. It says no smoking, no eating and drinking. Typically, there's stricter laws within Japan and in Asia regarding that. While as going into Europe, it may be more common to see people smoking all the time. Like outside Italy, people will probably have maybe a cigarette and a cup of coffee in their hand, especially in Spain as well. It's just very common. Additionally, the clothing that you wear, we talked about earlier, do as the locals do. That's going to be the best way. You don't want to lose your own identity, but you also don't want to stick out like a sore thumb. Um, Probably athleisure, just be careful about that, especially in Europe. Not a lot of people are wearing athleisure. They're dressing in jeans or linen pants and tops and polos and a little more formal wear. And in Asia, athleisure typically in certain areas is only worn for like sporting activity. Streetwear is popular, especially in Japan there. So I know like khakis and flip-flops are the popular move nowadays here in Tuscaloosa, but that might not fly being abroad. Also, just think of your shoe choices too. Open-toed shoes or closed-toed shoes, the right setting. Also for the environment too. When you're walking around, be very careful. The floor, especially in Europe, is very slick, like the bricked floor. And so having open-toe shoes might not be the best move there. Moving on to the next slide. We'll talk about living abroad and talking about some of those expectations that we have there. So while you're abroad next spring, you are an ambassador for the University of Alabama. What that means is you are sometimes people's first introduction to America, sometimes people's first introduction to the state of Alabama and the university. And so you are representing our university, and we expect you to represent it very, very well. So just think of how you're carrying yourself while meeting students from other universities within your cohort or in your group, as well as meeting locals, as well as meeting your teachers and other faculty in your program. Um, Thinking about public transit, I know in Tuscaloosa we might not typically use public transit as much, maybe like an Uber, or we're driving ourselves around or walking. But public transit, especially in a lot of metropolitan cities abroad, is very important. I could foresee the train being something that's confusing. Sometimes the train line can be confusing, but it's a very effective and affordable way to get around. Taxis also especially in metropolitan cities, you'll be able to see, maybe in some of the smaller ones too. There's probably not Uber and Lyft every single where. A lot of the big cities still have them abroad, but you might find a more like formal taxi. I know when I was in Italy, I found a guy with like a business card with a taxi and had to call him via WhatsApp to come get us. So a little bit different than the Uber and Lyft service we have here in the States. Next thing is meet locals. So well, yes, we want you, if you have Alabama students that are going with you in your program, we want you to connect with them, or if you're going abroad with other US students or other SEC school students, it's very important to connect with them. But meeting locals is a very important part of your experience in going abroad. You're meeting somebody who's truly immersed within that culture and who's representative of that. I remember one of my favorite memories that I have while being abroad was me and my friends met a guy from Turkey while we were in Istanbul, and we sat on the terrace when he gave us Turkish tea and baklava, and I was helping him learn his English. He was, trying to speak and communicate as well as he could, and that's one of the experiences I take back with me. Next thing is being okay with differences and ambiguity. You are not going to know all of the cultural practices. You're not going to know all of like the linguistics and part of the language. There's going to be some rules that maybe aren't clear. Some places are going to be a little more blunt with their like policies and cultural expectations. Some places may not even say them at all. It's kind of this unknown expectation you may have. So just know that it's going to be okay. Not everyone is looking at you and judging you if you don't know something. You're there to learn, like in a classroom setting, but you're also there to learn culturally. Below that is housing. So being respectful, eco-friendly lifestyles, utilities. So if you're doing an affiliate program and going abroad, you probably saw, especially if you're going to Europe, you probably saw an upgraded housing option with an AC unit. AC, air conditioning, is a luxury, especially in Europe and in countries with hotter climates. We kind of take that for granted down here. So just be aware. Also, elevators. If you're staying in an older building, you might not have an elevator. You might have one with like the wire door that closes. Just be prepared to walk. You're already going to be walking a lot while being abroad and traveling through those cities. Next thing is dryers. I know we love to wash and dry our clothes here. Hanging your clothes up on a line with a clothespin is typically common. I know I'm referencing Europe a lot, but most of us are going to Europe. And so that is another common practice there that we might not be so used to. It's also a great practice. Your clothes are less likely to shrink if you hang them up, and they a little less wrinkly sometimes that way. Next is language and accents and slang. You're not going to have to know the language unless you're learning that language within that country. So if you're taking Spanish in Spain or Japanese in Tokyo, Japan, um, but it's still important to have a basic understanding. I always recommend students Duolingo. I know it's kind of the basic one. It's not the best learner, not to be fully competent, but to kind of get around the ropes and, maybe how to ask for directions, learn the greetings, order a cup of coffee at a cafe, or get a simple breakfast. It's definitely good to know. Same way that there are accents, slang, and dialects here in the United States, like a northern and southern accent, or a western or a Jersey accent versus an Alabama deep South drawl, there's going to be accents and slang within those countries. So just try to be understanding. If you know a little bit of the language, you might hear a different variation of it. So just be comfortable in learning new things always. You're never too old to learn. Customer service is another one. Tipping culture. Very popular here, 25%. And they're turning the tablet around, asking you how was the service and to tip and to sign your name. That is not as common in Europe, and that is not as common in Asia as well. So just be aware you might not tip or you might tip very little at a restaurant compared to as much as you would tip here. Additionally, asking for the bill, especially in Europe. I know I'm referencing so much. I'm so sorry. It's just where I mostly was from my experience. Um, you're gonna have to ask for the bill. You're gonna have to hold your finger up or wait the server comes around, most likely. They're typically their families go there and they spend 2 hours, 2.5 hours at a restaurant. It's kind of like a hangout place in addition as a place to eat. So that kind of fast casual dining that we have here in the States may not be so common where you're at. Like I referenced earlier, don't stand out, try to blend in, do as the locals do. Just really have that implemented in you. It also allows you to be more fully immersed within the culture if you're trying to practice similar um, cultural and behavioral approaches as the locals. Next is your experience abroad will be shaped by your social identities. So just know, like being an American student, an American citizen going abroad, can and will impact you, especially just in the current climate that we're at today. There's a lot of anti-American sentiment, and so just understanding how to, respectfully move on and disengage with conversations or negativity that involve, being disrespectful of your home nationality. Um, Last thing is how will these identities be seen through the cultural lens of your host country? So just kind of knowing the perception of coming from America, coming from Alabama, and just kind of knowing how to roll with the punches, maybe answer some basic questions, just be very respectful. Roping back to that first point at the top, you are an ambassador. So it is, almost a luxury to be able to study abroad. And so it's really awesome that we get this opportunity and we're allowed and like we're able to support and send so many students. And so you are getting to be like a cultural and global ambassador of the University of Alabama in this process. So just don't forget that one. Next slide, please. Great. So what is culture? There's two types of culture. So there's surface culture. It's going to be things that are tangible, things that you can definitely see. So food, art, fashion, music, sometimes like religion. And then there's deep culture, which are these things that are kind of hidden or less spoken about. It's going to be values, behavioral patterns, ways of thinking, maybe like ceremonial things, and maybe even on a deeper side of religion. And so it's kind of understanding how these both interact to create like an identity. So kind of yeah, looking at the culture wheel, we've got the food and the drink and the arts, tools and objects. Um, those are typically going to be your surface level. I'd include fashion in there and language. And then on the deeper level, you've got your values, the greater community, the knowledge and the stories, traditions and rituals, and then techniques and skills. I would consider all of those like a deep form of culture. Looking over to the right, we have culture shock. We've got the stages of culture shock. You guys are going abroad for a full semester. So we're just thinking about kind of how this process would happen. So when you first get to your new country, you're probably going to be starstruck. You're going to feel like Hannah Montana just hopped off the plane at LAX. And you're gonna go through this little honeymoon phase. This honeymoon phase is going to your Instagram story is going to be packed. You are going to be taking photos every single day, trying to flex on the gram. And it's going to feel really, really awesome. And then about a month into that, you're probably going to be like, oh, wait, this is my new reality. This is real. Like, I will not be home for like 3 or 4 more months. And so it's trying to, you're probably going to get some anxiety, going to go down that slope. And about that, maybe end of that second month, maybe middle of that second month, hopefully should be kind of the adjustment period where you kind of make peace with the new reality and you're like, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm going to be studying in a new classroom in a different city, in a different country than where I'm from. I'm going to be around new people. I'm not going to have a lot of the comforts that I used to have back home. And so how do you grow from that as a student and also as a person? And then moving from that adjustment is into acceptance. So acceptance is kind of the point of being comfortable, confident, and happy in a new environment and being able to be successful within that. So below that is talking about like time to adjust and be mindful. Give yourself grace. It is a new experience you are embarking on, and it's an awesome journey. But it's definitely going to be scary and definitely may give you some anxiety. So please allow time to adjust there. Next is establish routines. So I like to talk to some of the students and kind of say, what you do here, keep that going while being abroad. If you like to run, go for a run. However, now be very safe, careful, look up your routes, make sure they're in good areas, especially in a place you don't fully know. Maybe walk the route a couple days before. But keep running, journaling, reading, painting if you can. All these things that like establish your identity and are part of your routine, keep that up. I additionally like to talk about decorating your space. Decorate your dorm room or your shared apartment or your homestay because no one wants to feel like they're in like a freshman year Patey Hall again. I totally get that. So you want to feel comfortable in your space. Next is meet new people. We said it earlier, use the buddy system. You do it here, you do it abroad. Use the buddy system. Meditate, exercise, hobbies. Very important to keep, kind of like I said earlier, keep all those things up. Also, is a little added comfort. Know that there typically will be a McDonald's. At the end of the day, if all goes wrong, if you're in Europe and in a lot of Asia, there is a McDonald's not too terribly far. So there is some American comfort there. And if you're in Asia, there's also typically a KFC. Outside of that, I always also recommend, while being here, to get a little more acclimated to the culture. If you're able to find a restaurant that serves that style of food, to be able to eat that ahead of time. And also try to listen to some of the country's music that's popular. Maybe if you can go to like Italy's top 50 on Spotify and see. You're going to hear that music while you're walking down the streets, through the stores, and in the restaurants. So, to be better suited for that while being abroad, it doesn't hurt to listen to it now. Um, Reverse culture shock is a kind of a separate thing. So that is when coming back to America and to Alabama, and you're kind of like, whoa, this is A, not how I remember it. B, this feels weird. And C, I want to go back. It's kind of like those TikToks people see of, oh, I just got back from Italy, and the person's like wearing, a scarf and like a fur coat, and it's like, acting like they're still there in Italy. There's a very popular trend on social media. Um, that will happen. You'll come back and you'll be like, oh, why is there not real coffee? Especially if you're eating like really, really fresh food in some of the countries, coming back and driving down 15th Street and seeing all the options might be a little bit disappointing. But the similar stages of culture shock also apply in reverse culture shock. So you were here before and you'll be back here again. So just kind of reassimilating back with your student body and student population. Next slide, please. Student assistants, you guys want to join us and talk about your experiences with culture shock? If so, if you did have it, how did you adjust?
Okay. So culture shock for me wasn't, excuse me, anything too crazy. Um, Honestly, I think the biggest thing was, like Kyler was saying, the food. Like, just being so used to like American snacks and things here was definitely a change. And then I feel like Americans, especially college students, will eat a lot of snacks throughout the day. Like, I'm eating chips or something at midnight. And while I was abroad, my host family, we really just had like 3 meals a day, and that was it. So that was definitely something that I had to adjust to. Um, Everybody in Colombia that I interacted with was very nice and welcoming towards American. So that was definitely made it easier to adjust as well. Languages is always something you're going to have to adjust to, even if it's a language you're familiar with. There's always going to be different dialects and accents that you probably haven't heard before.
Yeah, and then I would say the culture shock that I experienced was kind of like a reverse type of thing to where when I had first arrived in Barcelona, for example, I kind of looked around and thought that it looked a lot like the United States. And so the for me that kind of like brought like just a tiny bit of disappointment because I was like, oh, it feels like I'm in the same place. But I think the way to kind of move past it is just to kind of remind yourself that like you are in a different place. There's going to be things that are different. I know one of the main things that like I realized as I was getting into my routines was that it wasn't normal to like be eating and drinking as you're like traveling. So if you're walking, if you're on like the bus, anything, it's not normal to have your own like drink or snack with you. Because they really prioritize leisure, especially in Spain. And yeah, I would just say that's like probably the biggest thing is just you have to remind yourself you are in a different place. The food is going to be different, like Zara said. I know in Spain, for a lot of people, if any of you guys are going there, the food is very different and it's nothing like Latin American food at all. It's not going to be a lot more flavorful. It's actually going to probably be the opposite for you. But yeah, just have an open mind, I think, is the best way to help yourself adjust and prepare for everything.
Great. Thank you guys so much. So kind of rounding us out here, there's some social media plugs. We have at Bama Abroad on social media. For Instagram, definitely follow that. We'll post scholarship updates, updates on our events and partnerships that we're doing, and also deadlines. We also have a photo and video contest. The one for this year, voting, I think, closed already, and we've selected our winners. So we'll have one when you guys return. So just make sure to take a lot of photos. Make sure to take as many photos as you can and videos, kind of document your experience. Below that, we have education abroad student assistant positions. That's what Leanna and Zara are. It's a great opportunity to still stay engaged with the study abroad office and with international education in general. So applications for that will, I think, open within the summer. And below that, we have our Education Abroad Alumni Association. So I'm plugging the student org here. If you want a grad cord, join the student org. It's a great way to stay engaged on campus. There's a lot of professional development, student development opportunities. You can put some things on your resume. We'll do service opportunities. We'll have events. We'll have chances for you to win scholarships to go abroad again, potentially in the future. And like I said, a grad cord for studying abroad. So last is the lessons from the abroad conference. Eve, if you want to talk a little bit more about this one.
Yeah, so as part of your undergraduate plans, your undergraduate goals, if you have not attended a conference yet, for any other reason, and you want to attend a conference after you study abroad, you are eligible to attend the Lessons from Abroad conference. You can also submit a proposal to be a presenter, and do a presentation at that conference. It's really great professional development, looks wonderful on your resume. So if you're interested, that's an opportunity for you.
And then lastly, graduation stalls. You can get them at the UA Soup store. And then I'm gonna plug it one more time. You can join EAAA to get a grad cord to go over top of that. Below we've got our TikTok where we try to be funny and stay current with the trends. Our Instagram, we do have an X, but we are not engaged on that platform. And then we have Facebook, which is going to be an awesome resource for your parents. Go to the next slide.
And LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn as well. Here we've got the UA Global and Cultural Perspectives minor and just some other possibilities like joining the Peace Corps or looking to apply for the Fulbright program. The Global and Cultural Perspectives minor is a great opportunity if you'd like to study abroad again and don't already have a minor. It's got a wide variety of classes that you can take abroad, but also a wide variety of classes that you can take here that allow you to be globally engaged. And potentially some of the classes that you may have taken abroad in the past, if you're going again, can be applicable to this minor. So please see Dr. Taylor Kent, who is in BB Comer, for more information. Her email is there. And Fulbright Peace Corps we already talked about. Here's the LinkedIn that Eve mentioned a minute or two ago. So you can scan this QR code if you are not on your phone watching, or take a screenshot of it if you want that. And then lastly, we have our PDO survey. Please take this for us. It's just 4 short questions. It'll take like a minute, minute and a half to take at most.
And Logan, Jenna, Davis, iPhone, if you're not able to update your name to your full name for attendance purposes, please make sure you drop your full name in the chat so we can mark your study abroad application, mark your attendance in your UA study abroad application that you did attend today. Thank you for being here. Um, yeah. Okay. All right. So now is the time for questions. So if you have any questions, please stick around. Let's discuss them. Sometimes it's helpful if you don't have questions to hear questions that others have. So does anybody have any questions? You're welcome to unmute, turn your camera on if you'd like, or if you want to drop your question in the chat, we can go from there. So let's see. Okay, thank you. Logan, Wesley, Jackson, Susanna, Davis, Jenna. Can you still hear me? Okay. Davis and Jenna. Okay. Davis, what is your full name? Okay, thank you. And then Jenna, are you still with me? Thank you, Jedediah. Great to see you. If you don't have any questions, you're welcome to leave. But if you do have questions, now's the time to ask. If you have questions about visa, about preparing to go abroad, your application, anything like that, please let us know. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Leah. Okay. Jenna, are you able to hear me? All right. Well, this does conclude our virtual pre-departure orientation session. Thank you all for being here today. We are excited to support you as you go abroad.